Hello guys, how's it going? Hope you're all doing well. Welcome to the stream here. It's been a few weeks since my last stream. Been really busy. I've also been sick with a cold. So I got my water here. That's good, but I might be coughing a little bit as we're going on here, sculpting away. I'm gonna be working on this concept right here. You can see I've already done a little bit of blackout. This was actually for a different character and I'm kind of repurposing it and kind of going here on getting the blackout phase wrapped up. But let's look here. This is a concept by Dino? I don't really know how to pronounce Dino there, but go check him out on ArtStation, him or her, artstation.com/DINNO. Go check it out. Awesome concept. I really like this. Yeah. So we're going to be working on this during the stream. If you guys got any questions, you know the drill. Throw them down in the chatterino, and I will do my best to answer what I can. And what I can't, I'll just pretend like I know the answer to, and I'll make something up. Alright, so let me make sure I got all of my things here. Uday says, welcome again. Thank you. Welcome to the stream, bud. Let's see. So I have some things that are a little bit weird going on. You know, we got a lot of subtools already. That's because, you know, we're doing a little bit of a mannequin blockout. I'm actually working on this for the Dylan Ekron class that's going on right now. I've chose this character as a concept to kind of work off of. But yeah, we're going to be working on blocking out some of these harder transitional areas in terms of other weird things that I got going on. Excuse me. You notice that we only have one arm, one leg. That's so I can kind of wrap around here in my camera angle and also, you know, work on the inner portion of some of this stuff without having the other leg or arm get in the way. I particularly had that other arm just so I can kind of see how the waist is forming here from the silhouette without having to hide that arm every time I want to look at that. So yeah, we got some transitional pieces here for the rib cage into the waist. None of this is really final or defined too well at this stage, so we're definitely going to be looking at all of that. We got some spheres in there for the booty. We got a lot of different stuff. Head's pretty much just a placeholder garbage right now. I kind of started scaling that up a little bit. There's some things that I really need to think about for this concept, though, and maybe you guys can help me with them in terms of figuring out how to move forward on some of these shapes. So some stuff here, we really want to push the stylization of this character. We really want to push the proportion of this. I will move it into a pose a little bit early here, but for the most part, I want to sculpt in this kind of neutral pose right now. Like I said, I want to push a lot of this really strong transitional areas. So for instance, like this curve here, coming here, not much of a curve, more of just like a single point break, pretty sharp transitional areas like that, and then a little bit of a round out to the knee there. A little bit hard to tell exactly what's going on in a pose like this, so there's going to be a lot of problem solving. So I think that'll be fun for us. So what do I want to do here? I want to mirror my leg to the other side. Make this a little bit easier on myself. So that hand isn't quite in the way. So, looking at this, you can see that there's some things missing, some information missing, and that's what I'm kind of trying to piece together right now. Looking at the waist, coming down from the rib cage down to the hips, there's a lot of problem solving that needs to happen in that area. A lot of different stuff that I need to kind of interpret. And this is going to be a pretty chill live stream. I'm not super great at talking and sculpting at the same time, so I'll do my best here, but for the most part, pretty chill, hanging out, getting some sculpting done. Got some time, might as well stream and answer some questions if we can too. So for geometry that is crossing your symmetrical axis, like I have going on here with these two sphere shapes for the butt, you want to make sure that you don't scale in with your symmetry on, or scale out, or anything like this that would cause this. Because what's going to happen is inside here where this geometry meets each other, it's going to cause some weird warping to go on. So I will quickly, toggle off symmetry and then scale up, universally, or scale down, or whatever that is. So little things like that you want to watch out for, just to help with the cleanliness of your file, of your characters you're moving forward. From what I'm kind of seeing and interpreting in the waist here, it's a pretty simple shape. Mine is quite a bit tall right now, so I want to kind of squish that in a bit. I want to start playing with some of these kind of proportions. As you start to get in more of these pieces, I didn't stream this earlier while I was kind of working on this a little bit because I wanted to get a little bit more stuff in here. As you start to get to a stage where you have more parts, more of the subtools in there for the different parts of the body, it allows you to kind of reference those against one another and makes it a little bit easier for you. And I need as much help as I can get, so making this a little bit easier on myself while I talk is definitely helpful. And let me know if you guys can hear me over the music. Okay. I believe my audio levels, or if you can even hear the music at all, I believe the audio levels are the same as what I had them for the last time I streamed. I've been recording audio for the new course that I'm working on as well, so I tried to make sure that things were the same. So just let me know if you can hear me, if everything's good on your guys' end. Rohit, what's going on, dude? HUD Boys here as well. Long time no see, in all actuality. Maybe not that long, but a little bit long. Hope you guys are doing well. Or I guess maybe not super long for Rohit specifically. Just kind of working on getting that to a good place, that transitional form to the bottom. And then I do, like I mentioned, want to begin to shorten this, squash it down. So just kind of the vibe, the read that I'm getting here. And if it doesn't work, you can always go back. I'm trying to get a little bit of a cinch in on this waist. It's really narrow compared to the rest of her. A lot of that could be due to just the perspective of the image. Her head is very far forward compared to her waist, so there might be some foreshortening happening there, which could make the waist look smaller than it actually is. So some really strong perspective. So maybe this leg here, this leg isn't quite, that long. I would say that it is, though, compared to this character. It's these legs are pretty dang long, but I kind of like that about this character. It's pretty fun. I wanted to try something pretty difficult for this, and I think this pose alone is kind of difficult to get a read on the proportions of the character, but also just in general there's some really interesting things going on here overall that I really like, and I think will be a good challenge for this. I really like sculpting stylized characters. Oh, we got a little error going on there. Let's auto groups. Something wrong with my mirroring. Might be on this actual piece here. Let me see here. Mirror and weld. It is not. It's not a problem. So just trying to make that that butt a little bit smaller as well. I'm actually going to turn that off temporarily. I want to get a little bit of a stronger line here, so I'm really trying to think about these plane changes, these form changes, and just kind of a lot of those other kind of core concepts. I'm just trying to get some really nice kind of clean transitions between these areas. Think about all this stuff. Kind of liking the shape that we got going on here. Like I said, so I might need your guys' help. Well, it's not that I might need it. I do need your guys' help. So if you can kind of interpret more from this little image I got over here, if you think you can, which is by DDino, by the way, for those that are just popping in here. If you can interpret more off of this image than I can, and you're thinking, oh, you know what, maybe you should try squeezing in more on this area or anything like that, let me know. Let me know what you guys what kind of read you're getting. Maybe we can try to incorporate some of that stuff too. So I'm just kind of making all these changes. I'm trying to jump around as much as I can. Some of this stuff's pretty dirty, so a little bit of cleanup as well. But for the most part, trying to make some meaningful changes, as I mentioned. Reusing this this block out, this mannequin. Didn't really want to start all the way from scratch earlier again. So time and working on other stuff and getting over a cold, not the easiest thing in the world. Even this shape here. Move these up. Little subtool organization. I like to organize my subtools from top to bottom, so the head is typically always my top subtool, unless you know they're wearing a hat or anything like that. I organize my subtool list so that it makes it a little bit easier to find things naturally. So if I'm on the top portion of the arm, the next subtool down will be, you know, the lower portion of the arm and then the hand, just to have it make a little bit more sense for me as I work. So a little bit more form change here. I think this is still a little bit too big, but I'm fine with it for now. I'm just going to leave it alone. I just don't want to be able to see it really from the front. There's going to be, this pose is going to be crazy with this leg up. It's going to warp a lot of geometry, but we'll figure it out together. Let's see. Can hear the music. Thank you. Can hear me. Good. Corporal Cobra says, how you doing? I'm doing great. A little bit getting over a cold, but I'm good. Can you provide us some references for posing characters? Always struggling with such a thing. In terms of, I think you mean referencing like educational content for posing characters. I don't know, off the top of my head, really got nothing. I don't know, man. I'm trying to think if I have anything. In a lot of my old stream videos, you know, I'm definitely posing characters. I like to use, some people use Z-spheres and stuff. I hate Z-spheres, I think they're garbage. I use a Transpose Master for pretty much everything. And I recommend that. I think Z-spheres are a waste of your time. I think if you're going to rig something, you might as well just do it in Maya and actually like rig your character with skin weights that are manually applied instead of auto skin weights through Z-spheres. But hey, if that's your thing, then go for it. But yeah, definitely look through some of my old streams, maybe find a character that's similar to yours, if there is one, and try to reference some of the techniques that I use in that. But for the most part, Transpose Master is going to be the route that I recommend for posing. Thanks for showing up early. Of course, man. Yeah, you were asking on Facebook if I could stream in the next 2 hours, and I was already planning on it, so we both lucked out. Good timing on both of us. Who did the concept? Philip, if you're just popping in here, I think this is the third time I've mentioned DDino over on ArtStation. Go check him out. Great concept, awesome work, tons of good stuff. I don't think they get enough recognition for their stuff as well, so you know, another reason why I wanted to do this concept. I never see, you know, I think they have some really quality work. I really like this concept. I think it's really sweet. But yeah, they have some really cool stuff on there. Go check it out. Go give them a follow. If you got an ArtStation account and you're not following Dino, I'm gonna call him Dino because it just sounds cooler. And I like to imagine that there may be a dinosaur with tiny little arms drawing on a tablet. I think that's pretty sweet. So some of the stuff that I'm looking at here, as I'm kind of moving all around, I'm focusing more on the waist right now because it's a little more ambiguous. Can't really see what's going on. Some of the stuff that I'm looking at here, coming through on these different areas, I don't want that sharp hit right there too much. I might a little bit, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to merge these together, or at least temporarily merge them together, just to try to work this form a little bit better. Let's see what we can do here. But that's the kind of stuff that I'm looking for right now, and as we move forward on this, I'll talk more about some of the other stuff that I'm looking for. But for the most part, that's what I'm kind of looking at right now. Nice dragon, thank you. I think this is a great dragon. I'm not sure what that's a reference to. If you're talking about the dragon sculpt that we were working on in our last stream, we have not. I still have him. I haven't done anything on him recently. But yes, we will eventually get back to that. I've got a lot going on right now. If you guys don't know, I have a new course on my Gumroad. There's a link down in the description. It's for sculpting stylized characters for toys and collectibles, if that's something that you're interested in. I think it's also good for people that are just kind of looking to level up in ZBrush. I sculpt a Charizard in that, but I'm also working on another course for sculpting, not quite this stylized, but for sculpting stylized female characters. I can pull up, one second here, I'll pull up an image. Episode female face course. I've been recording audio, and honestly I think one of the reasons I got sick, let's see here, it's a decent image of the character, some of the different views we got going on. So something more like this. So I'm working on a course for sculpting something like this. Can't remember the artist off the top of my head who made this concept. One second while I find that, because I don't feel nice. Dmitry Panteleev painted this concept, digital painting. Dmitry Panteleev, you can see the name up there. Go follow them on ArtStation as well. But yeah, he gave me permission to use that concept for this course that I'm working on. And I really like the concept. I think the character's really fun. There's a lot of different fun things going on here with some hard shapes, sharp transitions, so if that's something that you're interested in, be on the lookout for that. One of the reasons I think I got sick is because I've been recording audio, and I was on about, I recorded 5 hours of audio, and then my voice was just dying, and then the next day I woke up not feeling super great. Feeling pretty terrible, actually. I really like this shape that we're starting to get here with this kind of triangular taper. I think that's a really cool shape. But yeah, I think that's one of the reasons I got sick. But hopefully I'll be good enough here soon to where I feel like I can sound a little bit more like myself. I think I'm almost there right now, but I don't want to sit down and try to record 5 more hours of audio. And wreck my voice again. But yeah, if that's something that you guys think you might be interested in, be on the lookout for that. Or if you may be looking for something else, check out that other course, or at least go click that link down below, as the YouTubers say. Smash my bell. Guys, smash my bell. YouTube's a weird place. Let's see here. I want to keep this tight. If you look here, it's kind of hard to draw in here, but that tight transition in there, I really want to keep that on the side. But on the front, it's so hard to interpret what's going on here. This character is Domino from Deadpool. I don't even know what this character looks like. At least costuming and such. I'm looking for more of the comic book not the movie version. Get a little bit better of the idea of the costume, and it's pretty basic. It's not actually very similar to what I have. Maybe this is more similar. It's got like this yellow V stripe, so maybe that's a little bit of what I'm seeing with that taper as well. Kind of like that. Let's go back here. Different colors as well, but I don't think that's an issue. We can kind of play with that as we go here. Smash my bell sounds really creepy, man. I'm sure using that sentence in my classroom. I don't know why you would say that in your classroom, but it's what all the YouTubers say, isn't it? Guys, make sure you like, comment, and smash my bell. What table are you working on? Doesn't look like a tablet, I guess. It is a Wacom. It's a 27 QHD, blah, 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 blah. Somebody asked me that recently, and I actually forgot what size it was, and I told them it was the wrong one, so I looked it up recently. It is the 27. Hate ZSphere more than anything. Yeah, I agree. Aloha, says Mr. Rodriguez. Thank you. With a name like that, saying aloha, I can only assume you live in on Maui specifically. I don't know why. The title is set to dragon. Oh, crap. That's why we're saying nice dragon. Yeah. We should change that. We'll just make it character stylized character sculpting. Looks good to me. No more dragon. Alright, thank you for that. Thanks for catching that. Yeah, no dragon. Don't want that in there. We were sculpting a dragon on our last stream. Guys, streaming's tough. There's so much you gotta do. You gotta change your title and your image. It's really hard. Really difficult. Getting like this rounded vibe here, so I'm trying to keep that in there a little bit. I don't want to like line this up and start proportionally measuring stuff off of this reference, because there's a lot of stuff going on with perspective that I need to think about a little bit harder. But I kind of want to start warping some of this stuff pretty hard in the legs. Like if I were to, femur is like right about here, we'll say. So if I were to rotate this up, which looks pretty great, would that be, with her leaning forward and that leg up, would that be kind of long enough there? I think length isn't too much of an issue. I kind of tried to lengthen these legs already, and you can see that the midline is below the pubic symphysis, pubic bone there, which means that, you know, we're a little bit longer on the knees. These legs here, a lot of interesting stuff going on here. I kind of want to play with not having this knee directly in the middle either. Kind of want to lengthen that. This foot looks pretty garbo right now as well. Kind of just threw that in there really quick. It's okay though. Everything looks like an alien when you just start out. Nice alien foot here. I'm probably not going to sculpt her foot ever. I'm probably just going to straight up sculpt her boot. There's no reason to sculpt a foot for this character. It'd be a pretty big waste of time. Actually, not a big waste of time, but it would be a waste of time. Kind of trying to push the length of that lower leg a little bit more. I don't want to. I really want to push stuff here, but like I said, in this this view, pretty difficult to tell. There's a lot of really interesting stuff going on up in the arms as well. You can see I've kind of started to block out a little bit of this stuff, but not a ton. It's still pretty not low poly, but kind of low form, very simplified. Haven't done a ton up here, but we can maybe start playing with some of this stuff as well. For the most part, I'm just using my my first few brushes down here. Clay tubes, trim, move. Pretty much it right now, but as I use some more stuff here, it's normally for pretty specific stuff. For the most part, that's about it though. This can be the next Fortnite character. Oh god. Rohit, don't tell me you play Fortnite. Come on. Come on, Rohit. Have some decency, man. I'm just kidding. I'm not shunning anybody that plays Fortnite. Just a little bit, though. Welcome, everybody. New people that are kind of popping in here, I see. If you're new or just popping in for the first time, we're working on a concept here by D-Dino over on ArtStation. Go check out his work. A lot of really cool stuff going on there. Whoops. 1 second here. Lost my image on my other monitor. There we go. Working on blocking out some stuff pretty hard, as you can tell. We're working on some pretty strong shape changes here, pretty drastic stuff. So I've kind of leveled that out a little bit more. I want a little bit more form here as well. So I'm trying to figure out these different areas, try to find something that I like. I want to keep this pretty rounded for the most part, but I do want to kind of figure out where that tip of that curve is going to be. I know that my belly button is going to be right around, right around that line there. Swing it down from basically your elbow. If you kind of put your elbow down, that's about where your belly button is typically. We can kind of mess with the proportions of our arms as well, as the upper portion of her arm seems to be quite a bit, and it might just be the little elbow pad there, but the upper arm seems to be a little bit longer than the, or I'm sorry, a little bit shorter than the lower portion of the arm. So, coming down from that deltoid point there, maybe down to, we'll say, about midway between the elbow and where that larger forearm muscle's connecting there. So a little bit kind of pushed in that area, in that regard, which I like. I like that a lot. I think that's neat. And you can kind of see the idea here that we're going for with that angle, as it's just kind of anatomically the way the muscles work there. It's not accurate to our reference yet. We'll get there though, but I've kind of already started to block this in on another character that I was playing around with. So it kind of gives us a little bit of a heads up in that direction. There's some really cool stuff going on here that is pretty unique and not, anatomically accurate, which is totally fine. I think it's really cool though, and I would like to get a lot of that in there as I play around here more and more. Just kind of thinking about these different areas. I want to do some shortening on this upper arm here. Lining up my transpose line a little bit, and then holding shift. and start to kind of pull that up a little bit. And then I'll just slide along that same line a little bit there with that. Same on the hand. And we can kind of start blocking that out a little bit more. Fortnite fanboys aren't gonna like it. Well, I guess that's why everybody's leaving. Crap on Fortnite. No, man, I like Rocket League a lot, though. I haven't been playing as much. I used to play it a lot. When it first came out, I played Rocket League a lot. I still really like it. I just don't have time, or I don't make time for it. I'd rather work on some sculpts, some more characters. But yes, I love me some Rocket League. Trying to get a little bit of this transition here, tricep into that flat. A little bit of that sweep around. I think we can stand to pull that shape out more. Trying to get that to look good from that other angle there. "900 hours in Rocket League, but I stopped playing a while ago." I have about 600, I think. But yeah, I don't like I said, I don't really play too much anymore. Every once in a while, maybe like on a weekend or something, if I have an hour, I'll sit down and play a few games. That's about it. But I do love that game. It's probably one of my favorite games of all time. I really like competitive games. I really like Melee a lot as well. But I don't really play that as much either. I haven't played in a long time, actually. Trying to flatten out this transition here. Using my trim dynamic, and then move from the side as I start to kind of figure out that plane change there. Coming down with the deltoid, long deltoid. A little bit of it has to do with the pose, but you can kind of see proportionally where we have some differences pretty easily here. We can start resolving some of that. Unfortunately, there is, you know, depending on how you look at it, fortunately or unfortunately, there's a lot that we have to kind of interpret here. Which could be fun. This is actually a pretty long shape, a lot longer than I've made it. So it can be fun to try to figure out a lot of this stuff and interpret it. Trying to figure out how to design it. But sometimes, you know, it's not really worth the time that you can actually put into it. I think this will be worth it though, and fun. Work on that curve there, that turn. As it kind of comes around here, from that front view, I should be able to see, you know, a little bit of that tricep poking out. On a female character, it's more so the pose than anything else that's alluding to it. But you know, on a lot of people, you can see just the kind of, if you did like a cross section of your upper arm, the back portion is going to be quite a bit wider back here, just for that tricep muscle. So, you know, a lot of people, you know, you'll see a lot of beginner people are like, tricep. It's like, well, actually, it's the more like simplified kind of basic shape. I tend to stroke kind of away from the back portion of the armpit as it kind of tucks up under that deltoid there. I kind of start to build up that primitive, most primitive shape, kind of going this way. You know, if you want to like round that out, you could start by like pinching it a little bit, hit it up with some smooth or something like that to really start getting that cool shape in there. think that's a pretty good way to do it. That's kind of how I like to stylize those a lot of the time. And then, you know, from that front view, you know, you can start seeing that shape a little bit more and more as that kind of tapers in towards the front of your arm. And this is all just for, you know, one piece here, one piece of geometry, so it's a lot to think about as you're working here, but one piece at a time. Try not to look too mechanical as we're working here. Trying to keep things. There's a lot of really cool stuff going on here with some rounded shapes and then some like really sharp transitional areas. So there's a good mix here going on. I think we've kind of built that up maybe a little bit too much. Kind of looking for where I want to find that hit. As I change this muscle here, this shape that I'm building. I wouldn't even think of them as muscles right now. I think that's a bad idea. I think thinking of kind of just landmark large shapes is more so what you want to do during this phase, or even just in general working on a character like this. So a little bit rectangular here, right? A little bit too parallel. Kind of want to start tapering in some stuff here. So from the front, as my bicep kind of comes in there, that front portion of the arm, and then the back as well. Just a little bit, kind of grab up from here. Just kind of start tapering that. Try to get that to be a little bit more visually interesting from the profile here. And I want to try to get a little bit more rounded. Some of this. Pretty simple curve though, overall. From the front view, you know, we don't really have much of an idea here. So I'm going to have to look at some additional reference and maybe try to find something that I like, or just kind of play with it a little bit. I always like to play with stuff first and try to fail miserably, and then maybe come back later and see what we can do. Let's see. Probably want to figure out something with this bicep. Trying to figure out this shape a little bit better. I'm not a huge fan of it right now from the front view. Maybe find some better reference for that. So we start to figure out what some of this other stuff is going to look like. Tighten this up as well a little bit here. Kind of want to continue that all the way through to the other side. This is more of a secondary shape. I don't want to be doing too much with this kind of stuff right now. Kind of trying to focus a little bit more on just primary forms. A little bit deeper than I want to go immediately, but you know. I think this is just like such an interesting shape and stuff going on here that I really can't help myself. I was looking for your giraffe sculpt. Have you deleted that droopy guy? I don't know what you're talking about, man. The giraffe sculpt. Is it like a derpy giraffe thing? I don't even... Did I sculpt that ever? I really can't remember. If I have it, it's... I don't think I seriously can't remember. I'd have to look for it. I do remember talking about sculpting it. I have slept since then. So we got some interesting, really strong transitional stuff going on there. Some cool stuff. Connection points are going to be really important. I don't really have much for that, you know, that lower arm's nowhere near as far along as this now. For this, that lower arm's going to be really tough. I try to figure out how I want to resolve that shape, because it's pretty crazy. I might, in all honesty, sculpt this in pose a little bit or a lot of it, just because I'm gonna have to re-sculpt a lot of stuff here. So it might be better for me to pose early, maybe keep the head on the x-axis symmetrical so I can work on that later, or sculpt it by itself later and then plop it on. But I think this might be something that's going to be actually easier in a lot of regards to sculpt in pose. But definitely that it's a lot more work. It's not necessarily more difficult, but it is it's definitely a lot more work. But you know, it might be worth the trade-off. It might be pretty lucrative to do that, just so I don't have so much re-sculpting after I begin to think about posing. Some cool stuff going on with the leg here too. I was kind of looking at this a little bit earlier. Kind of starts to taper up here pretty hard, getting pretty thin as we move up, which I haven't really got in there quite yet. Kind of like that shape that we're getting there. Of course, we're gonna have to modify our hip geometry a lot more to work with this more narrow waist. I kind of want to push this even farther. Kind of what we're trying to do here is push some of this stuff pretty hard. Proportionally, a lot better. That hit there, that peak, it's still about at the same place, and I think I might kind of stylistically change that a little bit. So it's a little bit of an inverse kind of to what you would normally expect to see in your upper leg. Going from this thin shape, becoming a little bit thicker on the bottom. I'm trying to push it pretty far here to really get that idea across. And I think we're kind of getting it a little bit better now. Oops. Start to get a little bit of an S curve, just a tiny bit on this lower portion as we kind of come in through here. Definitely liking that a lot more. I want to pull this down even harder. I think that's pretty sweet. I really want to start to get some of these cool shapes in there that are a little more obvious, so it can start to feel more like our character here. So definitely, you know, a pretty strange shape for the leg here, but I think there's some really cool stuff going on. Another thing that's kind of probably making it a little bit more difficult on me is working on the opposite leg here. Let's see. Mirror that over real quick. The baby giraffe sketch your girlfriend made. Yeah. I don't know where that is. I can maybe find it somewhere, like I said. I don't remember if I sculpted it. I really can't. I might have. It was in the plans a while ago. Let's try this. A little bit more. Rotate out a little bit, kind of pull in. I like this taper. I think I'm gonna keep that pushed that far for now. I just really kind of want to try to exaggerate that as much as I can, and maybe kind of come back later and, you know, rethink how stupid that was. So, you know, we're kind of piecemeal here. There's a lot of different parts and pieces going on, so it might be, you know, it's a little hard for probably somebody just popping in to visualize what's going on here, but it's just easier to work on this way, at least for me. Let's see here. Let's polygroup that and just low res ZBrush you. But we're making progress, slowly but surely. A little bit more of an angle there. Kind of a little bit of a push outline there. Like I said, a lot of this stuff, just because of the pose here, it's going to be kind of a waste to like really try to work this mesh in the neutral too much. It's not a waste, but maybe not as useful as it could be. So, I don't know, I'll have to think about it, how I want to move forward on this gal. If I want to, you know, break sim right away and start posing, or what? I haven't done a ton of stuff right from the beginning into ASIM. So that might be interesting as well. I know I've tried doing stuff that way, and I'm always like, this is kind of a waste. But this is a case where I might think it's a little bit more lucrative to kind of try it out. She's got a pretty wide gap between her legs here. I try to widen this crotch region out, and maybe fix our leg, make it a little bit more thick, start to kind of curve in and flow there a little bit better. Keeping that hard hit there, so you can kind of see that. It's not what we want, but once I kind of blend those with the legs, it's not a problem, so I'm not like super worried about, you know, lining up every single thing absolutely to be, you know, pixel perfect. Why can't I? Okay. Like, I'm not, you know, it doesn't need to be perfect, right? It's not the end of the world. You can always fix it later. trying to just flatten this out some from this angle, so a little bit more flat back there. I'm working on this with multiple parts, is making this. This is kind of how I sculpt. So this is, if you weren't here for the beginning, I mentioned that I'm working on this for Dylan Ekron's class, his character sculpting course. And he wants us to kind of block stuff out using mannequins, piecemeal, kind of like this. That's kind of just how I sculpt though already, so kind of something that I'm used to. I think a lot of people, not a lot, but I've definitely seen other people sculpt that way as well, especially in the stylized kind of community. Similar stuff, similar techniques. I kind of picked up that technique at a job where I was working on some toys and amusement park and museum figures and stuff like that. I saw one guy sculpting that way, and I had sculpted that way previously, but not to the extent that I do now. I've kind of developed it more and more, and it's pretty much just how I do everything. But that's kind of where I picked that up. I've been doing it ever since. But it's very effective. What I like to say is, you know, when in doubt, split it out. So essentially, if it's too complex of a shape for you to figure out what's going on right now, just split it out to its parts. Split it out to its most basic shapes and forms. It'll be quite a bit easier. Most of the time it is anyway. So, but obviously way too big. Kind of, maybe not flatten that out, maybe just slide in some, tweak the form some more. Try to get a little bit of the kind of butterfly shape. I mean, this is like so small, I might not even use this exact shape. The way this is going to blend into the leg is going to be really different than what I got here for the geometry, so maybe this is just a bad way to kind of approach this. I feel like I won't know until I get into the posing stage, which is why I want to try to maybe get there a little bit faster. So these are all kind of working together, butt, hips, legs, all this stuff. I just need to kind of work on them one at a time and kind of bounce back and forth a little bit as I start to line stuff up a little bit better. Blocking out mesh this way is better than taking a sphere with Dynamesh on and going all berserk. Yeah, I don't know. Everybody's kind of got their own way of sculpting, right? Decent perspective of stylized skeleton and anatomy. Yeah, I mean, not everybody sculpts this way. I mean, I would say a majority do not. But I do like it. So now what I might do is a little temporary, just a temporary merge on the hips into that leg there, and then kind of blend that out. The problem is I'm trying to like work on this a little bit in the neutral pose, but I feel like It's gonna break so much anyway. Kind of what's the point? A little bit. We're kind of really pushing the proportions right now, which is good. That's what I like to see. Let's see what this is kind of shaping up a little bit. Whoa. So we're starting to get some interesting stuff going on here. I rotated the legs out here a little bit because I knew that they would start to touch in the middle there. I kind of want to try to widen. I was gonna say widen them out a little more. I actually think we're kind of at a pretty good place here, proportionally speaking. Face is distracting. Go away, face. All right, let's see where's our leggers? Leggers way down at the bottom. Let me do some quick organizing. Move our hips down. And merge down on those. So I am temporarily merging these so that I can begin kind of working on a lot of these transitional areas. That's not going to be seen, so that's okay, but still. Even so, just a little bit of a tweak here and there. Clean this up. I'll show you guys something here in a second. There's some weird stuff going on with our geometry there that you might have noticed. So if you're sculpting like this, I'm using my trim dynamic brush. So normal interaction trim dynamic brush, right? Trims your surface. Pretty straightforward. But because there's extra geometry underneath of this, and even though it's masked off, so if I try to trim around here, right? Trim, 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 looks good, looks good. Here though, it starts to get this really weird effect. It starts to push in really hard, and it's actually trimming to this surface, the surface of this purple mesh here. And that's just because of the way ZBrush works. It's trying to sample that additional surface. There is a setting that you can turn on in your picker in, what's it under? Depth, I believe. It'll pick your once Z instead of continuous Z, so it's not sampling the surface of the figure. It works for specific areas. I prefer to use continuous Z all the time, in the way that you can get around. Where'd my picker go? There she is. The way that you can get around that weird interaction there is just hide that geometry and then trim, and your other brushes will work exactly the way that God intended. Alright, now let's dynamesh these and then we can clean them up that way. So, quick mask stroke. I'm going to flatten out the back here a little bit more even. You can see that we got a pretty good transition going on, but a little bit more won't hurt. Start to soften this here with smooth a little bit. I want to work on this just a tad. I'm essentially doing this just to clean up the transition between the hips and the legs. That's pretty much the only reason. If I figure out this area even more, I'm going to polygroup everything, just a quick Control W, and then I'll play with that even more. You can see we're starting to get a pretty nice form there. Some stuff in the leg obviously needs some work, but you know, I think we got the right ideas going on here in a lot of areas. I'm happy about. I'm using that AccuCurve on my move brush there to kind of pull up a little bit of a peak. I kind of use that for, you know, a lot of people use that for like spikes and stuff. I like to use it for kind of defining a surface turn a little bit harder. I use the pinch brush for the same thing. You can see it like created a little point right there. I don't know if you can see that or not, but just to kind of like force my surface to turn. I'll do that with the pinch brush a lot as well, just to get some interesting shapes. Most of what I do when I'm sculpting is just to try to force the surface to do what I want it to do. Alright, really rough, that's fine. Let's do like 2K here, ZBrush. Shane Olson and Danny Mac sculpt this way, so I adapted to this way. Says Mr. Rohit. Yeah, I don't know where other people picked it up, but the dude I used to work with did some similar stuff, and I was like, I like it. Let's try it out. And you know, everybody splits up stuff a little bit differently, and for every single project, it's going to be a little bit different how you kind of split stuff up. The way I work is pretty much jumping back and forth between Dynamesh and ZRemesher as I need, on a need-to basis. It's not anything like I'm trying to like retain my topology for any reason. I really just couldn't care less about my topology. The only thing I care about topology-wise is just making sure stuff is as clean as possible, or the form is, you know, created nicely. That's the only reason I worry about topology. It's pretty much for what I work on, the only thing that you should worry about topology for. A little bit of a form change here if I can get that to happen. So a little bit more what I was talking about, using pinch brush to kind of force the surface to turn. That's what I'm doing here. We're getting a really kind of cool flow. You know, that's not seen, but it can be a little bit more in certain areas. So kind of start to, you know, a little bit more in the hip region. So start to pull up through there. We're getting a really crappy transition through here. So that's some stuff that I want to clean up and fix. That's kind of why we Dynameshed and merged these together. But you know, I'll have to resplit these off. I was planning on resplitting the legs off after I did this. Like I said, temporary merge, all for the sake of cleaning stuff up, trying to get some better transitions. Let's see here. A little bit more surface pull out in the tongue, if I can. Kind of start that taper a little bit more. Trying to get a hit there. I already have some roundness up here though. I don't really want it to transition softly. I want it to be a little bit more harsh if I can. So we're starting to get that a little bit more, so a little bit of roundness into that sharp turn there. if you want to go in the video game industry, what would be your prime focus, realistic or stylized? Probably stylized stuff. I like stylized. I mean, for all the toys and stuff that I've worked on and figures, it's pretty much all stylized. I have done some lifelike stuff in the past. I really just, I don't know, like, with the way that that scanning technology is going, it's not like the hardest thing in the world to clean up a scan from somebody. But you know, creating really clean, stylized forms that look good, that's always going to be something that's necessary. There's an infinite, you know, possibilities for characters and everything else. So there's always going to be, you know, a place for that. So I'm not saying like do it for a job security reason. That might be a reason for you, but I don't know, it's just what I like doing. It's what I like making. It's what I've been making for a while. Been making. If you say been making pretty quick, it could come out as bacon. Been making bacon. You're in the video game industry, right? No, I was not. I remember you talking, if I remember you talking about that. No. I have experience working on toys and stuff for amusement parks, life-size figures for amusement parks, museums. I have worked on video games in the past, you know, small personal projects, nothing that I would ever consider AAA. Nothing that I would ever consider AA. But, you know, for the most part, just personal stuff or projects helping out friends, a lot of stuff in school back when that was going on. But, you know, now just all toys and that kind of stuff. Really trying to push that. Now I think we're good to split a Rooney here. Resplit out, right? But now we're in a lot better place for this transition. That was a bad selection there. From the outside of the hips to the legs, and I'm splitting so that I can get a better transition from the inner portion of the hips / crotch to the legs. Now I can kind of round this out a little bit more as well. So split that off, and now I can kind of get in here and start tweaking this some more. And I think this is going to be a lot nicer. A lot better form. Let's see, let's do polygroup. Mask that. I think that's pretty close to what I'm looking for. Same thing up here. Let's do this though. And do one more polygroup here. So just quick mask, and then Control W to polygroup masked, like that. ZBrush, keep groups. We'll do 1K. ZBrush that. Should retain the form pretty well since we have keep groups turned on. You can see that we got some hard edge loops in those areas. If I want, I can go through now and kind of clean up some of these edge loops. Actually, yeah, we'll do that real quick. Just a couple. Delete edge loop. I'm going to quick save. If you're using ZModeler across the x-axis, like I am, I'm fine with that. Kind of just want a little bit around this hip. You want to be careful using ZModeler again, as I was saying, across the x-axis or any symmetry axis. It can tend to crash in areas like that. It's real finicky. So looking at this line, wrong mask tool, looking at that line there, kind of just cleaning it up some. Got some good stuff going on there. And we still got our poly groups, of course. So let me subdivide a few times. Get in here and we can start to round out this form, which is starting to look much nicer. Right, so really simplified shape, that's kind of what we're going for here. Really clean. Could still use some work probably. And just figuring out stuff, lining stuff up, but for the most part I'm pretty happy with that. Legs here, Dynamesh, which will close holes and give us a poly group, which allows me to pull that up. Center in on the geometry, local sim on, scale on down. It's happening pretty slowly, but it's working, getting the job done. And just like that, you can kind of taper that surface in, Dynamesh again, so that we clean up these grody polys we got going on up here. And we'll clean that up a little bit more. My stream health is red. Hopefully you guys can still see me and hear me. Let me refresh this real quick. Video output low, oh no. Well, hopefully you guys can still see what's going on. Hopefully it's not fuzzy or anything. I think YouTube gives some false negatives on occasion, so I'm not sure how true that exactly is. Thing I also want to do here is slice along here. Just like that. I'll turn off line so you can kind of see that slice. They are the same color. Slice curve does not happen symmetrically. Keep that in mind. So mirror and weld, fix that. Positive to negative, left to right, of course, mirror and weld. And then we can duplicate, ZBrush, keep groups. 1K is fine, even lower is fine, but we'll retain some more of the form. Lucas, what's going on? Welcome to the stream. Hanging out, waiting for some ZBrush right now. Let's see what that looks like. And I'm not actually going to project that form. I'm actually just going to keep that. Oh man, my eye. My eye is twitching like crazy. It's been twitching. Result of, I think, still being sick, not getting enough sleep. Not sure. But yeah, we've started to kind of clean up that. I like the transition we're getting up there a lot more. We've kind of really pushed that in an interesting way, I think. Whoops. Oi equals hi. Yeah, I'm aware. I know what oi means. I only speak English, so English and slight bit of Japanese, but I don't have anybody to practice with, so I don't really get to play Japanese anymore. I haven't in a long time. I want to round you. Come on. This is why I don't like working on legs symmetrically. I have to kind of split those off. Still getting some really bad shadows in this area. Start to smooth that out. So we can still get that hard hit there. I think it's kind of retained enough at this point. Still some rough shadows there, but I can clean those up a little bit later here. I want to look at the profile view. Start tweaking this. Starting to get a little bit more of a taper there. Definitely looking better. More clean. We're getting there. Alright, give me just one of these puppies. Let's go. Whoops. And do that. What's that? One leg, please. Thank you. Alright. Like I said, now much easier to get in here and work on inner portion of the leg and everything else. I'm really trying to focus on kind of my opposite sides of my silhouette right now. It's what I'm kind of thinking about in my head. So just having the shape be more interesting. So as this has this hit here, pretty sharp, pretty tight, right? A little bit more of a graceful S-curve on the other side. Trying to keep the point hit, the farthest out place there, a little bit, different. I think with this, it's really not that different according to our concept, but it's different enough of a shape. I think it's still pretty interesting for the silhouette and everything else. The side view is a little bit more boring. I think we can do some stuff to kind of make that a little bit more interesting here. I was thinking mainly tapering kind of after that hit and get that to happen a little bit more strongly, more fast. Definitely not easy, as we don't have a reference for the side view here. I'm just trying to figure out where I can get that hit to take place a little bit differently. Have that be a little bit more interesting. We're getting some ugly things going on here. Just because of our geometry, there's a star, or two, up there actually. They're causing some issues, so I'll have to remesh those out. But I'm just kind of playing around here a little bit. Some graceful noodling. These knees are pretty interesting as well. I was thinking about them earlier. I need to kind of figure out that shape a little bit better too. Why is I don't get it. Why is this part so sharp? Just kind of looking at the concept here, trying to figure out where this tight transition needs to take place. So we're definitely going in a pretty stylized direction here, obviously. Oops, I accidentally nudged that. But yeah, trying to capture that transition as best as we can there. Try to stay true to our concept. So yes, we want to get a lot of these sharp hits in, same up here on the arm. Kind of looking at this a little bit later if you missed that. There's definitely some more work that needs to be done up in this region, especially with our forearm and figuring out how all this stuff is going to work as well. There's definitely some really interesting stuff going on in our concept. So, you know, lots going on. Trying to round out our form here. Force our surface to turn. Getting some unevenness. Rohit says Nani. Yeah, that's right. Sukoshi dake Nihongo o hanasu koto ga dekimasu. Can only speak a little, pretty much. It's the basic translation. Like I said, I don't have anybody to really speak with or practice with, so it's been about four or five, almost 5 years since I've practiced. Maybe like closer to 4 years since, you know, I was practicing Japanese and studying Japanese on my own. Alright, so we're getting some cool stuff going on here. I want to round that, or not round it out, but soften the shadow. What's going on there a little bit. If you're having some trouble seeing your form, another thing you can do that's really good is kind of moving your light around. That's one thing I like to do a lot. Still getting that weird shadow up here right now. A little bit better. Pretty much gone. You can move your light around and really get some drastic changes, and will help you, you know, catch some areas that you might need to work on a little bit more. But we're starting to get that hit really nice. I think it looks really good now. But kind of transitioning down into our knee here, we need some more love. And I'm just using those basic materials. Kind of see my form a little bit better. For the most part, though, I use my clay sculpting materials, my personal materials, while I work a little bit nicer on the eyes and still shows the form really well. So the knee is something. It's gonna be tough, and I might I don't know. Guys, I don't know about the knee. I don't know if I want to do that now or what. What I was thinking was, since this is bent, right, I'd be sculpting the knee a lot different. Both of these legs are bent. This one's at about a 90, and this one's even tighter. So I should probably sculpt that in pose, I think, because that form is going to change just so drastically there. Or there's really no reason for me to not. It doesn't mean that I have to sculpt the body, you know, necessarily in pose right away. But I can start blocking out more of this stuff. I can still keep the arms on sim and mirror that stuff over, you know, if I make changes later, or if I break pose and then make changes, I can mirror it later. So it's not the end of the world if I start breaking symmetry here. And I would like to figure out this leg and knee transition a little bit more. Let's something that won't require a ton of thought towards our concept is working on the basic shapes of our shoe / foot down here. So, you know, we've made some good progress on a lot of our different stylized areas. Let's look at the foot, or I guess the boot, because I'm not going to sculpt the foot. I'm just going to sculpt this shoe, this basic shoe shape, and how we can go about doing that. So kind of a rounded tapered shape, kind of curving back in. So I've blocked out a little bit of this, not a ton, and then it kind of flows up, you know, into the leg there. Maybe turn that leg back on so we can kind of see what that looks like. And our leg is a little bit thin compared to what we're gonna need, I think. And we can maybe look at that later a little bit more. But let's duplicate a part of our leg and slice off this portion here, just so we can have it for our boot. I think that's gonna make this a bit easier to work on. So subdividing here a few times. Ooh, this is a fun one. Fun glitch. I don't know if I can get it to do it. Yes, I can. And a crash. That's okay. Fun glitch that happens every once in a while. It doesn't always crash ZBrush. When you see that though, you pretty much want a quick save right away. I'm gonna have a recovered Z tool, so I'm not really scared. Let that reload. ZBrush terminated. See recover tool. Boom, grab that. And we're, you know, back in business. Right back to where we were. I don't know what causes that glitch, but it happens every once in a while and it's really random. But it's always fun when it happens. You can get some cool effects to happen. Not, you know, intentional effects, but some cool stuff either way. My reference, where'd you go? There you are. All right. So I'm probably gonna split this this little foot off into its separate parts, as we do. Make it easier to block out and figure out how these things are working together. Some cool stuff going on here though, for sure. It's kind of hard to tell. I get the feeling that this is kind of pointed more towards the middle, right? It's kind of the read that I'm getting here. I don't know how true that is. I wouldn't say pointed, because this is, I think, a fairly rounded shape as well. So we kind of come around here. We'll have to play with it a little bit more as we're going. Figure out the sides of this. For the bottom, probably just gonna do a quick clip with my transpose tool, like that. And continue to tweak the shape. I'm not too worried about it being flat right now. It's not actually even flat. I really just smushed the geometry up there. It's not something I recommend to do unless you're kind of dynameshing, which I am, or will be doing here. There's actually some pretty cool, pretty good roundness going on there in that shape. So I want to bring that line a little bit lower if I can. And as I mentioned, we're going to start splitting this off to different parts, different shapes here. So delete lower, and we'll just do maybe like a 200 res. I think that'll put us in a good place. And then let's do one slice here. And something like that. That's like the basic shape that we're looking at. I don't have perspective on it. Not a big deal. But now we can kind of mess with proportions and figuring out this stuff a little bit better. Now that it's a little bit easier and stuff is kind of split off into separate parts. Let's see here. This shape is like throwing me for a loop here. Might be better if I just kind of soften this out for now and widen out some of this. Yeah, there we go. Looking at it from the top view. I'm just kind of rounding out some of these areas. And of course, you know, this is really dirty. That's not much of a concern though. This stuff is really easy to clean up. More of just kind of thinking of plane changes and silhouette here. And kind of adding form where it needs to go. And right now I'm kind of taking down form using my trim brush. Getting that surface to turn, be a little bit more rounded. And we want to widen out some of this as well. Trying to think the last time I did a really, well, I recently did a really stylized shoe. But not like this. This is pretty unique, pretty cool. I like it. There's that kind of sampling issue I mentioned before going on there as it's trying to figure out what to do with multiple surfaces. Just being stupid. I wish it didn't do that. Just kind of the way ZBrush works though. Trying to get a little natural, a little bit of the natural curve of the foot in here as well. I'm not really looking at a reference, but any reference for a boot, but I probably should. And I probably will before I finish this thing. This is really thick in the back too. Thin that out. How much time you spend blocking the character? Up to this point, I really don't know. I haven't been keeping track of hours on this. No idea. Like, let's see, we've been streaming for an hour and a half, so maybe 2.5 hours, something like that. I didn't do like a ton of work on this before. But we plan on doing a lot more. Kind of lazily using my mouse right now. Lucas says, your blockouts are so awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it, Lukey boy. Height. The height of this is not correct. Want to kind of move this, squash this down a little bit, but I don't want to screw up this transition completely. Actually I do. Actually, I do want to screw this up, because I want that to be tighter in there, more narrow. So I'm going to do the same thing there. Just kind of remesh all of these. I don't really care what it looks like. Just get that to be, you know, tighter in there. And I can start to figure out this way a little bit more. Maybe something like that. Alright. These are actually kind of flowing all the way up to that shape up there, but I'm not going to do that yet. More so just focused on the actual foot. And I don't have to go all the way on this thing, you know. I can take a break and go work on something else. We got a lot of other stuff that we can focus on here. And we're kind of just looking at the foot right now. Oops. Okay, so first things first, I need this kind of initial kind of transition line here. Actually, I can. How should I do this? Bleh. So something like this line here. Give our shoe some thickness, you know, some actual room for the foot here. I just need to kind of work this form a little bit more. And also bring it down and into this side. You can see there's a lot of, definitely too thin over here, so I need to kind of bring that line up. Do the same thing over here. After I do this, I'll start to worry more about that crease in there and that tight area that transitions. Right now it's fine to just kind of keep it pretty rounded like I have it. Let's see. In my head, the block out is something you spend 45 minutes. Maybe that's why my models aren't so awesome. Yeah, man, I mean, the longer you spend on your primary forms in those initial stages, the better everything's going to look down the chain. If you get to a point where you say, like, I'm done with my making any changes to the primary forms and now I'm going to, like, step forward from here, that's, you know, if you make that kind of mental decision, you know, you're kind of pigeonholing yourself, I think. Don't be afraid to kind of jump back, but the more, what I'm saying is the more effort and work you put into this stage, the better everything's going to look. It doesn't, no amount of detail is going to save you. And, you know, you'll hear that and you'll say, yeah, I understand that, I get that, but really you don't until you experience it enough. It's definitely something that comes with, in my opinion, something that comes with, you know, your hours that you put in as it starts to make more sense and you kind of know when you can move forward for yourself. Like I was talking about earlier, everybody's process is, you know, really unique for sculpting, and you know, no two people are sculpting things the exact same way. Might be similar, but you know, never exactly the same. So you got to find out how that works best for you. Somebody else was saying too narrow. Yes it is. That's what we're trying to work on. The narrowness, currently. We will get there. Let's do... looks so nice, thank you. Appreciate it. I don't think it looks like much of anything yet. Alpha 39 is an awesome alpha to mark parts and with the brush modifier at 100. I think, God, my neck's not my friend right now. Alpha 39. A kind of sharp point with a soft transition outside of that. It's very similar to my sharp soft edge brush. Kind of similar alpha, similar idea. I'll show you how that works, but yeah, I definitely kind of think that's a cool kind of method to work with. I like to do that a lot as well. Kind of mark stuff on my mesh, kind of like you're drawing over it, where you're like, hey, make a change here later, or like just to help the surface turn in a specific way. I think that stuff is always really helpful. Oops. Start to get some of that thickness in there now that, you know, it's a little bit easier to control our shape and make things more clean. Sounds like some Mega Man music right now. Jeez, what is this? 6 Feet Thunder. Dang. It's a rough name. So I'm just kind of like looking at landmarks right now, just visually. I think we're getting a cool shape though. Even though, you know, it's still pretty messy. Okay. So definitely getting that thickness a little bit better, but tighter as we pull in on this specific area. So a number of ways that we can kind of go about trying to acquire that shape. I'm going to try, well, might as well just leave that for now. I'm going to polygroup that, but I don't think it's really worth my time to do that. There's some perspective stuff kind of playing with me right now that I should kind of try to account for here. Oh, 22 people watching. Don't you guys got your own projects to work on? Nah, I'm just kidding. Welcome everybody, or for people that are kind of just popping in and saying hi, seeing what's going on. And for anybody that's new, this is a concept by a very talented person on ArtStation that you should all go follow. D-Dino. I think it's D-Dino, actually, but I like to call him Dino. Go check him out. There's a link on screen. I think it's just ArtStation/Dino, D-I-N-N-O. Go give them a follow. Go check out some of their really cool work. He's got some really cool stuff on here. This is exactly what he looks like. Or maybe this one. I don't know. But this is the concept that we're working off of, obviously. Pull that back up. We got a lot of stuff going on here with our geometry that we've kind of started blocking out, playing around with. Some interesting stuff in the arms a little bit. I'm taking some time away from the main mesh and looking at the foot down here. A little bit of a boot. But yeah, we're having some fun, just kind of chilling. Nothing serious. As always, if you guys got questions, I think I said at the beginning of the stream that I will do my best to answer them, and you know, if I don't know the answer, I'll just make something up, like other people, like mostly everybody does. You can't appear like you don't know everything. I mean, that'd just be silly. I know a lot about ZBrush, but I don't know everything about ZBrush. Especially a lot of the deprecated stuff that I don't care about. Starting to work on this transition a little bit better. It's getting there. It's just not quite what we want it. Cut's not in the right place. That's okay. We'll make it work. Let's see. Hudman is lurking at work as per the usual. Very nice. Very hard worker, ex-Hudman. Always giving, and I'm not sure where you work, but you know, always giving it his best. Ooh, I know this song. I like this one. It's got some Smash sounds in it, some Kirby. It's good stuff. What's this dude's name? Can't remember. Pop Sky. Yeah, he's pretty cool. He's got some really cool music. Alright, getting a look at this thing with perspective on. There's a little bit too much roundness up here. Can also put some ankles in there, have that shape there transition a little bit better into the leg. I think that would be a good idea. I think I put a little bit too much roundness down here in this crevasse. Try to flatten out some of this. I'm going to try to round some of this out. Rotate. I hate working on stuff close up with perspective on, it's so annoying. So we still got, you know, some of that tight area in there, but that surface turn, it's a little bit more smooth, right? Just by cleaning up that surface some. Bleh. Doesn't transition very well into the bottom, though. And like I said, we don't have to take this to a completely finished look right now, but just kind of noodling away. Trying to get that to go down some more. Not playing nice. Get in there. Got too many hits in the surface there, so it's, you know, not looking super great. Kind of just want that one transitional area, right? That's kind of what starts to make your surface look really crappy as you, you know, start to have stuff like that. Like, seems small, but it really adds up quick when you have a lot of stuff like that. That's really the difference between, you know, something that looks really clean and something that's not. I mean, you can put in 90% of the work to get something looking nice and clean, and if you don't know to like look out for that small stuff, it becomes really obvious when you zoom out and start to look at everything as a whole. Your silhouette and everything else kind of fall apart. A little bit, I think, too rounded on the front part here. Kind of want to knock that down some. Yeah, get a little bit of a little bit of roundness, I think, is fine, but knock that down some if I can. I think really pushing out from the bottom might help out a little bit, and it looks like it did. I think that's more what was the issue there. I think we're in a decent place there. Ankles. I wanted to do some quick little ankle roonies. A weird kind of surface turn happening up here that I want to take care of. Ooh, right here. Try to round that out a little bit better. Better. I plan on clipping off a lot of this geometry here as well. There's a little bit of roundness I want to get like around here, around this area. So kind of like pulling in that bottom face will just like give me that automatically. So I kind of want to do that. Let's look at ankles though, because I said we would do that. So ankles, right? Outside ankle, lower than inside ankle. It's pretty much the line of the body up to the calves. So following from, you know, that outside ankle in, inside ankle's higher, and then your calf on the inside is typically lower as well, but you know, there's some cool stylization here going on. We've already kind of effed up our legs pretty well up to this point, getting that, you know, wider towards the lower section of the leg, which is pretty interesting in my opinion. And we'll probably end up doing something similar with our calves here. Whoops. Just want one of these. Work on one at a time. But yeah, we got some interesting shapes going on there. I want to now block out my ankle roonies a little bit. There's a lot of ways we can kind of insert some geometry on here. I say we'll duplicate. And I have modified my insert multi-mesh brush, my primitive insert IMM brush, or whatever you want to call it. I've modified it to include some extra geometry, like a perfect cube. Perfect cube is just a cube that's, you know, exactly six-sided, 6 polys. And you can also make this in your initialized palette as well, which is typically how I do it. But this allows me to kind of insert it in a specific place on my mesh, which is nice. I like it for that reason. I made this recently, and it's quite nice. And then from here, slice curve down the middle, or you know, use your Z modeler brush and add a poly loop, whatever works for you. Doesn't really matter how you do it. You know, even something like that, you can start to see how we're, you know, getting closer to that shape that we want. Let's actually use the Z modeler brush here. Poly loop, poly loop. So that goes exactly in the middle, which is nice. Let's do 2 more here. Trying to kind of taper this back a little. Let's do a bevel. Getting there. Much the primitive shape that I wanted to make there. I think rounding this out even a little bit more would be nice. And I want to make this lower portion, just kind of stylistic choice. Have a little bit more of a hit on the bottom. And I'll probably kind of just like tweak this with my move brush a little bit too. Maybe scale it up. In terms of ankle size, I think I'm okay with what we got right now. I'll probably remake this piece of geometry as well, or at least modify it a lot to make it a lot more clean. It's pretty messy right now. This is still pretty messy too, but I'm not, you know, I'm not super worried about it. Let's see. Our angle here. Start to get that shape a little bit better there. Okay, so duplicate it. I'm just swinging it around to the other side. And then holding shift and rotating a few times. Rotate on. Now I can find a place for that to go. Now I can't remember, I'm gonna have to look at my own foot here, my own leg. Your inner ankle, I think that's correct, is more forward. So kind of symmetry line here. We could look up some reference. This is so stylized, I don't really even care. I just want it to look good, and it's really blended in pretty strongly there, so I've kind of over-modeled this but your inner ankle is more so forward than your outer. Kind of the way your tibia and I always forget. Tibia, fibia, tibula, fibula. I think it's tibia, fibula. I can't remember. What do you guys know? I think it's tibia, right? Tibia, fibula. Yeah, it is. The way these work in conjunction. Let's find. Maybe that works. Well, that's not good. But you can kind of see how the fibula is like slotting in back behind there a little bit. Can't really. There's not much of a good angled view for this. Ugh, that's nasty. Whenever you look up anatomy stuff, you always find some pretty grody stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I can't find really a top-down image. And I don't think I'm gonna find anything. It doesn't matter. Look at your own foot. You guys got feet, probably. Use that as a reference. But like I said, I've probably over-modeled this some more than I need to. But that's okay. Whoops. A little quick crash. Not a problem. Let's restart that. You can see, you know, mainly what I'm looking for is that kind of surface hit right there. I want to make sure that there is something in place. It doesn't have to be as much of a addition to my surface than what I have, than what I currently have. I'm probably going to blend it in and, you know, crease some edges and everything else here to make that work a little bit better. But yeah, let's go with this. Subdivide a few times, kind of just merge that in with my surface there. Same here. Get that in there. I think that's good. Let me hide this. And scoop. Merge you all together. Dynamesh. Now this sounds like Mega Man. Box jump by abstraction. I dig it. I like Mega Man a lot. I like old school Mega Man. Mega Man 2 is like one of the harder games from that era. It's a really fun game though. Good stuff. But again, kind of like looking for this surface hit, right? A little bit of crease there as I blend these out into the surrounding area. More so just kind of, you know, we're not super worried about this additional form that we've added on here. And we'll start to blend out more as we work on it. What is that? What is that beat from? Ah, it kind of sounds like the Attack on Titan intro. Na 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 na. I think that's like a German. Doesn't it have German in it? I don't remember. I haven't seen Attack on Titan in a while. I used to follow the manga and do not anymore. I was way ahead of the anime. I think they're on the second season of the anime. I actually haven't watched the second season. Doesn't it sound like it? I think it does. Mega Man is the best. Yeah, Mega Man's pretty dope. Mega Man X, Mega Man E10. It's a good one. One of the best games ever made, according to a lot of people. Good morning, bro. Good morning to you as well. Welcome to the stream. There's some cool stuff with the ankle, right? Oh, you know what? It sounds so much like it. Now I can't get it out of my head. I'm gonna get copyright strike because of this song. You can kind of see what we're going here for our ankles. That kind of works a little bit better. If Mega Man and Attack on Titan had a babby, that would be this song. I really want to play some Mega Man now. I think they made like some kind of legacy collection or something with updated graphics recently. Honestly, I wouldn't recommend going back and playing the old games. They're super hard and pretty annoying. It's cool to say that you beat them though. They're very difficult. Alright, I think there's still some proportional stuff that we can kind of do in our foot here, especially in like length. I don't have polygroups there, but squashing that in from the side view, bringing that back some, probably widening out in general. Ooh, you know what? We'll kind of do that now because there is something else I wanted to do. I wanted to kind of get that roundness on the side too, a little bit more. By tapering that in, I'll just need lower polys to do that. Saw a really dope Mega Man X cosplay the other day. That's sweet. And yeah, the song does sound a lot like Attack on Titan. I thought it did. Where were you that you saw a Mega Man X cosplay? Some convention, some con, of some sort. I would assume. So the thing that I was thinking that I could do would essentially use this mask to like pull in here a little bit to give. Actually, you know what? I've created enough shoes to now. That's pretty much just on this side. I'm not going to do that on the outside edge. It's got like this. Go look at some shoes, guys. Go look at some lady shoes. If you're a lady, go look at your shoes. Now a little bit more tapering on that side. Kind of following the form of the foot a little bit. But yeah, and then a little bit more roundness out here. If I can get that to take place. Whoops. Which shouldn't be super hard. We already got most of it in. And we can kind of clean up some of this junk we got lying around still. Some of this bad transitional stuff happening. Shouldn't take too long. Spent a long time working on this shoe though. This little footy. I don't know, I think that's fine. Let's see. Just saw pictures of it online. Sent you the link on Discord. Sweet. I'll check it out, dude. Thank you. What was that rotation? You guys see that? Just like flew off screen. Oh, ZBrush, why you do this to me? Just getting some of these transitions in there to be a little bit better, a little bit more clean. Kind of just nudging stuff around little by little, trying to find a good balance here. I think we're pretty close though. In a lot of ways. Alright, let's look at this piece, this back portion. I was saying I would redo this, but actually instead of redoing it, there's a better idea. Let me just create a couple slices here. Delete, close holes. And now we can just kind of stretch that out. And it's like, wow, perfectly flat. Just grab like a little sliver of geometry in this area. You can do some interesting, cool stuff. I'll have to merge this down to get that to blend a little bit better, but let's line this up as best as we can, I guess. I don't like that shape. Probably should have messed with that before I sliced it. We'll just redo our cut. Oops. So just take this. Just kind of reshaping this here. I can keep messing with this. Let's see. Do we like that? Wait, that. I think it'd be easier to move my foot. Okay, so that. Oh. Well, I actually have that lined up really close. I didn't think it was. Well, cool! I think we're almost done here, playing around with our shoe. Shoe skidoo. Trying to pull that out to be a little bit flatter. I kind of want like the shape that's happening here. It hits that point and then like drops straight down, and I don't have that going on. This is like perfectly round. I haven't given my ankle like any attention whatsoever, and you know, there'd probably be some tapering and stuff going on here. Might be easier to get some of this stuff in first before I completely warp that. I think I want like a little bit of curve there, if I can, without breaking everything. Gotta push everything till it breaks, and then realize that I pushed it too far. Okay. I think that will work for what I want. Oh. Come on, play nice, please. Just trying to line some stuff up so that when I merge these together, it's a little bit easier to clean up. But you know what? I do not care anymore. Just merge these. Get some Dynamesh going on here. And after a little bit of cleanup, I think we'll be looking good. Obviously, you know, some discrepancy there, but I will keep that for now. I'll just slice it off later. Let's also merge in Dynamesh here. This is all part of this boot, you know, it's gonna flow up into that calf there, and I'll create that later, but you know, I still want this shape in there now. Probably a little too much here. A little more over modeled than I want in some areas. I did not even realize it has been like 2.5 hours since I started. My stomach said, hey dude, it's time. But we'll hang out a little bit longer. I'll definitely, you know, finish these shoes a little bit more. If you guys got any questions, any more questions, I guess, at this point, throw them up in the chat before I head out. Ugh, what happened there? A little bit too much smooth. I'll probably create a little bit of a Boolean subtraction there to like really clean that up and get that looking nice. At least get a decent cut there. And fix a lot of these places where we got some extra transitional form that we don't want. I want that kind of, you know, this crease here in the front, that transition. I don't much like it underneath, kind of flown back though. Just working on some of these areas. Let's see. How is this looking from the side proportionally now? I think I need to make it wider and larger. Both of those things. And look at how we can do that really quickly with our transpose tool. I'm just going to scale up from that center point. I think a little bit of the foot size there is kind of perspective, but you know, I'm not worried about it too much. You know, I don't think it's too big or anything. Widening out my shoe there a little bit with my transpose tool. And I don't have to do that on the ankle, you know, I can, whoops, I can undo and mask that off, taper it up, and then grow it up a little bit more. I think that works a little bit better. Try to keep that ankle a little bit more rounded for the time being. And a lot of the time I like to use booleans on my shoes. Live boolean. It's one place where I like to use it. I think you can get some really cool stuff in this crease. I'll show you guys real quick. It's super easy to do too. So what you gotta do, whoops, stop please. First, you need yourself a cube. Cube. One cute cube. And stop. Okay. So I'm just gonna lengthen this out, get it into position so it's kinda here in the foot. And then put it up here, grow down like so, grab this other vert on both sides actually, and pull them down like that. And then click live boolean, turn on subtraction, and just like that, voila. You were able to cut that out really easily. And then, you know, I can come through here and, you know, pull this out some more, or sculpt in some additional form, because, you know, it started to, as it got softened, it kind of pulled in there a little bit. So I can kind of build up that additional form there, pull in here some, and just like that we can really start to clean that up. You know, we're starting to get a little bit of a softer transition there, so kind of build up the form, do the same thing. Okay. And I want to move this back some. I'm gonna cut in there a little bit more. Move back, move up, just to make sure I'm getting all that there. And there we go. There's some, you know, warble to this that I can sit here and, you know, perfect, but This isn't really something that'll ever be seen, nor is it. I'm getting a little, you know, over model-y here, I think. But yeah, that's kind of the basics for how I would do something like that. And then I think we've already flattened this out, clipped it off, so some really sharp, clean transitions happening there now. That's kind of what we're looking for. But yeah, there you go. That's how I would do it. We can kind of soften that, or if we want to, you know, maybe bring this angle in some more. Have that happen a little further back than what we had previously there. I think that looks better. Kind of mess with that some more later probably. But yeah, I don't know. I think that's good for now. I think working on some other stuff too will be good. We can kind of look at that more later. It is getting there. You're absolutely right. Still streaming, yep, but we are just about to bounce on off. Yeah, there's some stuff in the ankle, probably thicken up some areas, but I don't want to make too many changes to the lower leg on proportions I was talking about earlier until we start to pose. So I'll probably, I was mentioning sculpting this in pose. I would like to do that. I think that would be an interesting challenge, and I think it would be good for a lot of different reasons, but I can maybe talk about that more later. I don't know if I'm going to have a chance to stream more on this character. Let me do a quick save. But yeah, I don't know. I got some other stuff that I need to work on, namely that new course that I'm working on that I mentioned to you guys earlier. So be on the lookout for that. If that's something that you're interested in. And thanks for coming out, guys. I guess that's it. I guess that's everything. Thanks for coming, guys. Hope you guys have a good night, and I will see you guys next time. And I lost my OBS. Hold on. All right. I'll see you guys later. Have a good night.